Hi, my name's Ruan and this is my channel, The Yorkshire Sew Girl. I hope we're all really well. I'm okay. I've just got back from a wonderful trip to Disneyland Paris with my boys. I'll maybe go into that in a bit more detail in maybe a catch-up vlog in the next week or two, and then I can tell you all about it for anybody who's even interested. But what I thought I'd do today is I've got a day off from work today so that I can do all the washing basically and everything from unpacking from our hollybobs. I thought I'd quickly pop on and do a little bit of a review of my latest make, and it is the fabric Godmother Fleur top and dress. Now I loved this pattern so much as soon as it came out that it was printed out on A4 and stuck together in a matter of minutes and cut out, and I started it before I went away, and then I had to leave it half made as a project in my project bag to finish off when I got back. We got back yesterday at about 5 p.m. and within an hour of unpacking, getting washing in, all of us were in different rooms. All four of us, we'd had enough of each other, I think. My husband was wanting to watch the football, so I was kind of like, do you know what? I'm going to go and sew, because I'd been thinking about this a lot while I was away. Does anybody else get that? That they go away and you really miss your sewing machine? Or is that weird? I don't know. I find it weird. I think I use sewing as a bit of a chill out, come down, bit of me time. So then being away, makes me kind of pine for it a little bit. So when I got back, I was kind of like, I'm going to finish my top because I really, really want to make it. So if you don't know about this top, it is the latest pattern from Fabric Godmother. This is the second pattern release, I believe, that they have brought out. So the first one was the peony dress, which I haven't made, and then this one. And I love the look of the peony dress, to be honest. I just haven't really got much of an occasion to wear that kind of dress at the moment. But as soon as I saw this, I was so excited. Now, obviously it got released at a very similar time to the Tilly and the Buttons Nell, which is a dress and top as well with bows. But I loved the idea of this one because it's a high neck, which I love, and because it also has a placket in it as well. So that's the reason I decided to go for this one. But I would like to try the Nell as well, because both the gorgeous Tamlin and Rachel have both made the Nell and they look great in it. So I think that will probably be one that has to be bought as well. And I like the idea of experimenting with a V-neck as well. I don't wear very many V-necks, but I have been wanting to experiment a bit more because I never really wear necklaces or anything like that because I just wear big earrings. Today I've got on my lovely earrings from What Beck Sews and her shop, which is Jazz and Wow. So they're like red and pink, and I thought they went really nice with this. I was going to put bright red lipstick on, but I thought it's just too much, Ruan. Just calm yourself down. So you've probably seen quite a few Fleurs. They're popping up all over Instagram at the moment. It's very unlike me to get a pattern and make it up immediately when something comes out. And I must admit, when I saw all of these bow type of tops and blouses coming out, I'm one of those people that has to warm up to a trend. I'm never really like the trend setter. I'm not really there. I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know about that. So then what I end up doing is just waiting for a while, seeing what everybody else makes, and then I think about it a bit more, and then I'll maybe give it a go. But this one I was like, no, I'm going for it. And I'm really, really pleased that I have, and I can't wait to make another one. So I'll pop some pictures in here as well so that you can see what the pattern looks like and the line drawings, etc. What I like about this is the amount of options there are as well for this pattern. So what does it say about the Fleur? Let's have a look. The Fleur dress and blouse is a pretty and versatile pattern. The playful bow ties and gathered peplum add an element of fun to this garment. Plus, a secret placket stops you showing more than you want to between the bows. Made in a lightweight cotton or linen, this is the perfect summer dress or blouse. You can also use a heavier weight fabric and wear the sleeveless version as a pinafore dress in cooler weather, which I think is a really lovely idea. Now, what I like about this is the amount of variations that you've got with it. So you can do it sleeveless and you can do it with sleeves, you can do it with a peplum, and you can do it with a proper skirt with pockets, which I love. I like the versatility around that. It says that the sewing level for this pattern is 1 out of 4, although it does say that it's for an advanced beginner dressmaker. Now, 1 out of 4, I wonder whether they've kind of classified it as that because there are no buttonholes, you know, that type of things. There's no zips, that closures type of thing. It's just a bow. So I'm wondering whether that's the reason that they kind of put it as a 1 to 4. 1 out of 4. Would I put it as a 1 out of 4? I'd maybe head more towards the 2 out of 4. And the only reason for that is that this is does have a bias bound neckline, and it's quite a tight neckline, as you can see. So putting bias binding on can sometimes be quite difficult around a tight neckline like that. It's also got gathers in the sleeve, and then it's got a gathered cuff as well here. So I would maybe go more towards a 1.5 to 2 out of 4. But again, I've always said this before on my channel, that if you think you can have a go at it, it doesn't matter whether you've been sewing for a week. If you want to have a go at something, you have a go at something, you know. Just have a little cheeky drink. So, should we talk sizing then next? So the sizes go from a UK 0 to 34, which is a bust of 31.5 to 55.25, a waist of 23.5 to 47.25, and a hips of 33 to 56.75. There is a lot of ease in this pattern, so it is quite size inclusive anyway, but when I talk to you about my sizing, you'll see what I mean. So my sizing, just for reference, is I'm a 43 on my bust, a 39 on my waist, and a 46 on my hips. Now, from a size perspective then, I should have come out as an 18 on the bust, a 22 on my waist, and a hips of 20. To think about that. So I should have been 18, 22, 20. And that tends to be the case quite a lot for me with any pattern designer, because my waist is not as skinny as other people's ratios to their bust and hips. I'm trying not to say thick set, but it's coming out. I can't help it. I'm thick set around the middle. It's as simple as that. So I had a look at the finished garment measurements, and I decided to only make a size 18, a flat 18 all the way through. So that's what it should have been for the bust, but my waist and hips should have been larger. And the reason for that is there's quite a good section actually, let's see if I can find it in here, which talks to you all about what size you should make. And I like it when they do that, because it gives you a bit more of a hint and you're not guessing as much. It talks very much about measuring your upper bust, so up here rather than your bust here. And it talks about choosing a lot of the pattern sizing based on your high bust measurement. Now it comes in 2 cup sizes, so it comes in a B and it comes in a D. And I decided that I was going to go for a B because my measurements from a bust perspective fit perfectly in with that banding. So I've gone for a B cup altogether. But yes, there is a D cup as well, which is really, really good. Now, for the sizes as well, there's different bodice shapes. So you have a bodice that is for sleeveless and one for sleeves, which I love. I have made patterns before where it's the same shoulder width for both sleeveless and sleeved, and I found that quite difficult. So they've drafted 2 different ones, one for sleeveless and one for sleeved. So I'm assuming one's probably bias bound and then the other one is this kind of sleeve. And I decided I wanted to go for the sleeve. Now on the B cup with the sleeves, there's no bust dart in it either. Whereas for, I think it is, let me see, I think I wrote it down. Yeah, the version with the sleeves only has darts in the D cup, but the sleeve version does have darts in both the B and the D cup to create a better fit. Something to do with obviously not having the sleeves constructed, I'm assuming. But yeah, so when you actually print out, so I just did the A4 print of this pattern, you do have a lot of different bodice pieces, because you have the sleeveless one for a B cup, the sleeved one for a B cup, the sleeveless one for a D cup, and the sleeveless one, sleeved and the sleeveless one for a D cup as well. So there's quite a lot of bodices. What would have been helpful, which isn't in here, is to have just which pages you should print out of your A4 pages for each bodice that you wanted to do. Now, it does show you a diagram of all of the pages put together, but when you zoom into it, you can't see which bits are which, which didn't really help. So I did end up having to print it all out, stick it all together, and then cut it out, which was a bit of a waste of paper. So I would just, whether that was just me, but I couldn't kind of figure that one out, if you know what I mean. So that's all to do with sizing. But I know I did talk to you about the fact that I went with an 18 because it told me to go by my upper bust measurements. So that's what I did. But that still gave me, across my bust here, 3 3/4 inches. So I was like, oh, do I want to size down a bit? But I said, no, I'm going to just go with exactly what it told me to do. That would also give me, on my waist, just going with an 18, even though I should have been a 22, it would come out at nearly 48 inches, the finished good garment measurement around my waist. And I'm a 39, so that was loads of room. And then on my hips, I went with a straight 18 instead of a 20, and that gave me 87 inches, it says, around your hips. So that's what I'm saying from an ease point of view. There's a lot of ease in it. Could I go down one size? I probably could, actually. I reckon I could probably go down one size if I wanted to, but I am quite happy with how it's turned out so far. And the shoulders are pretty much where they should be. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit less if I went with the size down. Not sure. But anyway, so that's everything to do with sizing. Now, before I get on to anything further, you guys know that already, probably, if you've been watching my channel, that I work with the lovely Serious Readers. And they have been working with me now for a couple of years. In fact, you can just see one poking out here, look. This is my Gemini light that I've had now for a long time, and I use every single time I'm sewing, sometimes even in the daylight, and that's why you can always see it kind of here. But guess what I've got? I know I've talked about this quite a while previously, about the fact that I would really like a floor lamp for my cutting table. Well, look what I've got. So I've got a brand new light to put together. So this is turned up just before I went away, so I'm very excited. And I'm going to be constructing this and putting it up in my sewing room over my cutting table, because it's over there and it's really dark over here. You'll notice that I film here because of the window. So over there, the light's here in the middle of the room. Over there, it's really dark. So I've got a floor standing lamp to construct and put up over my cutting table. So I will put that all together, and then in another video, I'll show you that so that you can have a look at it. Now, for anybody who doesn't know about Serious lights, these are the high definition, so the HD range, which I absolutely love. And that gives you daylight wavelength technology. So it replicates the daylight spectrum as close as is possible. So it's basically helping you not strain your eyes, and it's giving you proper daylight almost. So when you're kind of looking and comparing colours and things like that, you'll see that actually it's so much easier to do with this rather than sometimes, you know, you get a bit of a yellow light. It's not like that at all. So yeah, I'm hoping then that this one here that's now out of shot is going to bring me a lot of love for my cutting table. Serious Readers do offer a code as well if any of you are interested in that. You just need to use the code Ruan24. I'll pop it along the bottom here, and I'll also pop it in the description box, so you can just go click that link. That will take you through. You can have a look at the lights, but yeah, you get £100 off any of the high definition lights range. So if you use that code, just let me know. I've had a few people recently contact me to say that they have invested behind this. I do appreciate that it's a large expense, but I've not known one person that's come to me afterwards and said that they don't love it. So I'm glad they like it as much as I do. So I just wanted to talk to you about that before I crack on. So where do we go now then? So shall I actually show you it? That might help, mightn't it? Shall I stand it up so that you can have a good look at it? This is it. Ooh, I feel right fancying it. So you'll see it's got this really nice round neckline, 3 bows here. Try getting a bit closer, you can see these bows here. And then it's got a gathered in peplum. Now this bit here is not connected at all, but you'll see from me moving about that you don't see anything, which I think is really good. It also has these really beautiful puffy sleeves, look, that are gathered in at the sleeve head, and then they're gathered in with a little cuff here. And I love it. I love it so much that I want to make another one immediately. The only thing that I can see when I'm sat here is I can feel like on this side it's pulling a little bit, and I don't know whether that's because I struggled a little bit with the bias binding, and that's because I didn't want the bias binding to be made out of this fabric. Because this is a broderie on glaze in like a beautiful grid pattern, I didn't know if that would be itchy against my skin. So I had, see this here, like a red satin bias binding in my stash. So I decided to use that. And I felt like it was a little bit short, actually. I don't feel like, you know, when you do normal bias, it has a bit more stretch in it. It didn't have an awful lot of stretch in it. And I don't know whether do you see what I mean? There's a bit of dragging there when I don't pull it out properly. Whether I've just tied this a bit too tight, that might also be that as well. But yeah, you'll see that it is a little bit pulling to me here. So I need to have a look at that. But yeah, this fabric is absolutely beautiful. Now, the other good thing about this pattern is it does tell you how much fabric you need, and it breaks it down for you. So it tells you what you need for the bodice, for the sleeves, for the peplum and for the skirt. So depending on what version you're making, you can go and have a look and work out how much fabric you need, which I think is really good. Because what we don't want is for the pattern to say you need 3 meters for the dress, and then actually you're making the top and you have to try and guess, and then you go out and buy beautiful fabric and then it doesn't fit on it and you're really angry, that kind of thing. So on mine, I think it said that I needed 2.4 meters altogether. So I think I needed 1 meter for my bodice, 0.9 I think for my sleeves, that type of thing, and then whatever was left over for the peplum. So I needed 2.4 meters, but obviously I only had 2 meters. And I was determined I was going to make it out of this red fabric because I loved it so much. And I'm loving the colour red at the moment. And I'd seen Josie from Fabric Godmother in a red version, and then I'd seen Jen Legg on Instagram in a red version. And I was like, yes, I need to make that. So I've just blatantly copied. But I have done it in this beautiful embroidery on glaze fabric, which is from Rainbow Fabrics. I got a red one and also a beautiful white one. I think this one might have sold out now. But there are some other, I did check before I started filming, there are some other embroidery on glaze fabrics on there. So I will pop the link in below if you want to go over and have a look. If you do fancy buying any of it, don't forget that I do have a 20% code as well. I'll pop it along here and I'll put it in the description box as well below. So if you buy anything from there, anything, it doesn't have to be the embroidery on glaze, you do get 20% off as well. And I get a little affiliate payment, which is lovely, isn't it? So yeah, I'm glad that I've made it in this fabric. I've never sewn with embroidery on glaze before, and it wasn't hard at all. The only thing that did make me laugh is when I would snip into my pattern pieces to snip in the notches, sometimes when I then came to sew my pieces together, I was like, where's my notch? And it was obviously because where it had cut was where the hole was, and then I'd put a notch, what I thought was putting a notch in there, but I wasn't. It was just into thin air because it was actually where the hole is. But anywho, I've got this on with just a black bra underneath. I did try it with a cream bra, but it kind of stuck out a bit too much. And I don't think this looks too bad. What do you think? I don't think I need to wear anything underneath it anyway, but I feel all right in it, if you know what I mean. I don't feel like I'm exposing myself. Probably because I'm sewn up to the top of here, aren't I? But, you know. So I got it just out of 2 meters, but what I did to help that along is I used the selvage. This fabric had quite a large selvage on one side, about that much. And I thought, you know what, to create the ties would be nice to have them in the selvage fabric rather than in this, so that it's not difficult to sew such a thin strip. So these are all done in just the plain selvage fabric, and I'm really pleased with that. Now, because I only had 2 meters, I did have to do a bit of jiggery pokery, but I wanted to try and match up the lines across here as best as I could, and that's worked, which is brilliant. So I was super happy about that. I didn't worry too much about the sleeves, but I wanted to make sure that these matched up here and those matched up down the bottom, and that worked perfectly. Now, it is drafted for 5'6". I am 5'8". I couldn't get it out of, I increased it by 1.5 inches. I wanted to increase it by 2 inches, but I also want to try and make my pattern exactly right with the fabric that I had. So I had to do a bit of Tetris with it just to make sure that they kind of aligned. So I did a 1.5 inch increase just to the peplum. That's all I did. I literally just added it onto the bottom. There are lines, I believe, in the pattern so that you can extend the bodice as well if you don't feel like it's hitting you in the right place, but I actually really like where that hits me. So yeah, 1.5 inches. And then what I did is when it came to the hem, you're supposed to do a 2 centimetre hem, and I just did a 1 centimetre, and I think it looks fine. I used a little bit of rainbow thread as well, just to give it a little bit of zhuzh. And I'm really, really pleased with the length of it, actually. I was a bit worried that it would be too cropped, but it isn't. I just love how much this swooshes out over my mum tub. Feel great. Now, the one thing that did surprise me about this pattern as well is I'm not normally into poofy sleeves, but there's not too much there. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like it can be too poofy, but yeah, I don't feel like it's too much. And most of the poof is down the bottom, which is what I love. And that is just done by literally gathering in to a little cuff. And again, the cuff was made out of the selvage, so the same as this, so that it was just a little bit easier, and I quite like the idea that it would just be plain. Now, the placket, I mean, it's just amazing, isn't it? This is the placket underneath, so you're not flashing your boobies to anybody, which I really, really like. Now, I was a little bit worried. You're supposed to interface this placket, but because it was this fabric, and I was like, oh, it's got holes in it, I don't want to be able to see the interfacing through the holes. What I did is I just self-lined it. So I just cut 2 of that piece, put them together face to face, and then turned them round and used it that way. It is probably a little bit stiffer maybe than if you were to use interfacing as a result of that, but it sits lovely. So I was a little bit worried that it would be too thick. So let me see if I can just undo this and show you. So there it is, look. So this is the placket here. Even that matches up, look. I don't think that was done on purpose. I think that might have just been a fluke. But that travels all the way down to the peplum. And as you can see, it's double-sided with mine. Whereas normally you'd have a piece of interfacing in the middle of that and then fold it over. So yeah, I was worried that it was going to be a little bit stiff, but it's absolutely perfect. So I'm well happy about that. So instructions wise, fantastic. Obviously, like I say, I've not made a fabric Godmother pattern before because there's only been one other than this. They were spot on. What I did like about them is they put like little tips, top tips here and there. Let me see if I can find one for you. Yeah, I mean, I love tips like this. Excuse my printer was running out of ink, so it's shocking. But for example here, this is where you attach the ties. And it says here, if you have lengthened or shortened the bodice, you need to adjust the spacing of the ties. That's the sort of little thing that I forget all the time. So if you increase in the length of the bodice, which I didn't do, I just increased the length of the peplum, you do need to make sure that you're spacing this out correctly, because what you don't want is to have all your bows up here and then another like couple of inches at the bottom that could flap open, I think is basically what they're saying. It's a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance all the way around, except for the sleeveless armhole, and I'm assuming because that's going to be bias bound, even though I've done the sleeve one, and the neckline, which is bias bound. So I think it's all to do with bias binding basically. So that's just, I think it was 6 millimeters, 1/4 inch for that and the sleeveless arms. But yeah, fabulous. What else can I say about it other than it's not very often like a pattern sews beautifully, the instructions are beautiful, you're not confused by anything, the end product's really good, and you're excited. You know what I'm saying? That's how I felt about it. So I am super, super pleased with this top. Now, I do want to make another one. Where is the fabric? Just wait there, let me go get it because it's here. It's right here, look, in my stash. I want to make it in a white. I know, I probably shouldn't make white high neck tops, but I've got this really beautiful white double gauze that I got from Beyond the Pink Door. I think it was in one of our Think Pink subscription boxes. So it's white double gauze with these like little leaves embroidered on, and I think this would be beautiful in a white as well. check me out going for the plain colours. I mean, I know this is a really bright one, so, you know, but I'm just loving red at the moment, but I love white as well. So I think that's going to be my next one. And I think a beautiful soft double gauze one will just be beautiful. I would really like to try a viscose one as well, but I'm just a bit unsure about the bow ties, whether I'd have to, I don't know, interface them to give them this structure, because they look nice, don't they? I might have a look on Instagram and see if other people have made it in viscose. And then I would love to make a dress version at some point as well. So yeah, rarely does a pattern get me this excited, but this one certainly has. I hope that was of interest to you. I know it's nice sometimes when a new pattern comes out and you may be a little bit unsure to kind of know someone's made it and what the review's like. So I hope that's all helped you. If you've got any questions about it though, do let me know in the comment section below, and I will try and help out however I can. But yeah, well done, Fabric Godmother, for a fabulous pattern. So that's it from me today. I hope you're all well. I hope you've had loads of time to sew, and I'll see you again soon in my next video. Bye.